Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Together we'll chant verses 21 to 30, chapter 7.
यो यां यां तनुं भक्तः श्रद्धया चितुमिच्छति तस्य तस्याचलां श्रद्धां तामेव विदधाम्यहम् सतया श्रद्धया युक्तः तस्याराधनमीहते लभते ततः कामान् मयैव विहितान् हितान् अन्तवत्तु फलं तेषां तद्भवत्यल्पमेधसाम् देवान् देवयजो यान्ति मद्भक्ता यान्ति मामपि अव्यक्तं व्यक्तिमापन्नं मन्यन्ते मामबुद्धयः परं भावमजानन्तः ममाव्ययमनुत्तमम् नाहं प्रकाशः सर्वस्य योगमाया समावृतः मूढोऽयं नाभिजानाति लोको मामजमव्ययम् वेदाहं समतीतानि वर्तमानानि चार्जुन भविष्याणि च भूतानि मां तु वेद न कश्चन इच्छाद्वेषसमुत्थेन द्वन्द्वमोहेन भारत सर्वभूतानि सम्मोहं सर्गे यान्ति परन्तप येषां त्वन्तगतं पापं जनानां पुण्यकर्मणां ते द्वन्द्वमोहनिर्मुक्ताः भजन्ते मां दृढव्रताः जरामरणमोक्षाय मामाश्रित्य यतन्ति ये ते ब्रह्म तद्विदुः कृत्स्नम् अध्यात्मं कर्म चाखिलम् साधिभूताधिदैवं मां साधियज्ञं च ये विदुः प्रयाणकालेऽपि च मां ते विदुर्युक्तचेतसः
स्टार्ट वीडियो टच करना
नहीं अभी वो चुप बैठी है ना तो
Hari Om everybody, welcome to the Sunday morning class. If you have any questions, please write them down in the chat box as Arun Sehgal and Sham Punwani have done. This is a discipline we'll all follow from now on, that questions we will take right in the beginning. Of course, if there is any issue you don't understand while the talk is on, please bring that up. But general questions, all in the beginning. Questions pertaining to something we've already done in the beginning. And write them down so they're clear. KS Mehta, you have a question? No. Okay. Okay. So Arun Sehgal says, "Are agami vasanas prarabdha vasanas of the future?" So Arun, agami vasanas refer to future. So whether they will be part of your sanchita or whether they will ripen into prarabdha, only the future is going to tell us. So we don't know right now whether they will be or they won't be. They could be sanchita, they could be prarabdha. For those who did not attend the last class, let's just briefly do these definitions again. Sanchita vasanas means total vasanas, the collection of vasanas, all your vasanas. Prarabdha vasanas means those vasanas which have to be experienced for exhaustion. They cannot be removed through knowledge. Prarabdha vasanas are that small portion of your vasanas, maybe like 4-5% of your vasanas, which have to be exhausted through experience and cannot be attended to with knowledge. Okay, so prarabdha vasanas is something that you will simply have to do. You have no option there. So you have to take any vasana which is so fixed in you that you have no option. The easiest, of course, to understand is that your gender. You're a man or a woman, that's your prarabdha vasana that you're going to just exhaust. You can't remove that with knowledge, in other words. And what is agami vasana? Agami is the part which is of the future, which is yet to come. Those vasanas which have not yet manifested, those are known as agami. So Arun's question was, are agami vasanas prarabdha vasanas of the future? Whether a particular vasana will become a prarabdha vasana in the future or not, only the future will tell us. So we don't know whether the agami vasanas will continue to be part of the sanchita or prarabdha. Is that okay, Arun?
Yeah, thank you.
Sham Punwani, desires which we collect in the birth, do they go to Sanchita box or we have to fulfill in the present birth? No, they are added to your total vasanas, to the Sanchita vasanas. Whatever vasanas we are now creating gets added on to, there's no box really, but it becomes part of the total vasanas you have. So the vasanas, okay, vasanas are our inherent tendencies. If anyone is joining us for the first time, vasanas are our inherent tendencies, also known as unmanifest desires, desires which are not expressed. So whatever desires we now create may go back into being just part of your total collection of vasanas, or alternatively, you may want to fulfill them. Both are possible.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anything else? Okay, does anybody have any further questions?
I have a question. Can I ask?
Yes, Ganesh, go ahead.
We spoke about realizing the self in chapter 17. Now, there I'm not very clear, but there are some philosophers say that you can fulfill it in a second. You can get realized in a second. Do you have to go through a journey of hard work through multiple rebirths and births, or can you understand everything in a second? So could you throw some light on it?
Both these statements are true. You can understand everything in a second. It doesn't take more than a second. In fact, in the scriptures, they've described realization as easy as a needle going through a rose petal. That's the description. There's also another description that says, Bahuni Bahuna Janmana Mante. After Bahunam Janmana Mante, after many, many janmas, you will get it. So, how do you understand? Both seem to be told to us. So how do you understand this? You understand this quite simply. Let's take an example of chemistry example. Okay, you have test tube in your test tube is a chemical. You add a reacting chemical to it. Or in your beaker is a chemical. You add a chemical to it, nothing happens. You keep adding, nothing happens. You keep adding, nothing happens. Then maybe on the 50th drop, the whole color changes. For the whole color to change, it took one drop. So that's instant. The change is always instant. But what preceded the change can be a lifelong journey. So when it comes to change, the moment you get it, the moment of getting it is instant. But to prepare yourself to get it will take as long as anything. Depends on how much damage we have done so far, but the preparation to get it can take a long, long time. Is that okay, Ganesh?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Anybody else has a question before we start? Okay, so we were on chapter 7. We were last time doing the 28th verse. Okay, we started with saying that 27 said, O Bharata, by the delusion of the pairs of opposites arising from desire and aversion, all beings are subject to illusion and birth. So we are deluded by the pairs of opposites. Meaning what? Our mind gets involved. Good things are happening, bad things are happening, happy things are happening, unhappy things are happening. Our mind gets involved in these things. And when the mind gets involved in these things, we go into what is known as delusion. Delusion means our intellect is not functioning. It means you can't really see the facts when your mind is just jumping up and down like that. For instance, right now, we are in the middle of COVID. We all have to be at home. And we have no idea when this is getting over. In India, at the moment, at least, it's going up by almost 70K a day. So that's a lot, right? It's going up and the experts tell us we are nowhere near the peak also. So now what? Now suppose this agitates us in some way. We will go through delusion. Now, what does that mean? We will go through delusion. We will not be able to eat properly, drink properly, sleep properly. We will not be able to enjoy our lives. We will not be able to do something productive with our lives. We will cause tension to ourselves and tension to others. All this is the delusion where we have got involved in the pairs of opposites. Something so-called negative is happening, and our mind tends to get involved in it. But what should have happened is that our intellect stayed on top of it. Intellect staying on top of it means what? We are in this situation, right? Now that's a given. So what can I do? What is the best I can do? Or what service can I be? How can I take my own life forward? How can I be of use to everybody in my house and everybody in my society? You can think, you can continue to think. You don't have to get burdened by the issue. You can continue to think, what can I do? Like all of us are now doing something useful, right? uh, the classes have grown exponentially from real world to virtual world. That means no matter what good or bad is going on, we can still continue to do productive work. And actually some of us are more busy in this period than they've been when that wasn't there. So it's all a matter of whether you can keep the intellect going or not. Similarly, good things may happen, but can you keep the intellect going? Which means, can you continue to deal with whatever needs to be there? Many good things will happen in our life. Many bad things will happen in our life. Our very definition of which were the good things and which were the bad things are going to change as we go on. So why are we getting so carried away by this? How do you know that one day we will not look back at COVID and say, oh, actually, that's the best thing that happened to me? How do we know that? We don't know what we're going to think in the future. We don't know what are the situations of the future. In fact, just think all the people who decided that in 2020, this is what I'm going to achieve. They were probably all wrong one day, because We don't know whether they were able to do that or not. Whatever they said, I'm going to do. Now, some of us, suppose you had a goal like, I want to lose 10 kgs in 2020. Suppose you had a goal like that. That you could easily have done, no problem. Of course, you can do that. So, not being deluded means your intellect is still on top of it. Means you can still, whatever the situation is, good or bad, ugly or beautiful, happy or unhappy, you can still do your best. You can still be totally fulfilled because you are doing your best. Now, when you live life like that, life becomes comfortable throughout. It doesn't matter now what pair of opposite greets us. Whatever greets us, we just deal with it and get on. That's life. We'll meet many things. But if we tend to get involved in the pairs of opposites, oh ye hua, oh wo hua, ye hua, wo hua, ye bahut acha hua, ye bahut kharab hua. We tend to do all this kind of thing. Our journey stops. We stop doing useful things and we start getting involved in unimportant things. And in that lies the agitation of life, and in that also lies the failures of life. We're not making good use of our life because we're getting carried away with these pairs of opposites. Now, these pairs of opposites, he says, are deluding us from birth itself. That means from the moment you're born, you are greeted with pairs of opposites, right? The baby is happy sometimes, the baby is unhappy sometimes. You're greeted with them. An adult human being means that no matter what is happening, you are keeping your head on your shoulders and you're dealing with it, whatever that thing is. It could be a financial problem, an emotional problem, it could be a boredom problem, but you're dealing with it. To say I'm on the spiritual path and ignore problems is saying that you're not on the spiritual, not dealing with something. Suppose you have a health issue or a marital issue or a financial issue, and you're not consciously dealing with it, figuring out how to deal with it, you're getting carried away by the pairs of opposites. Ignoring them is also being carried away. Don't forget, many people misunderstand spirituality as hum to virakt hai. All these problems don't matter to us. If all these problems don't matter to us, then that's a very tamasic way of living life. Why don't these problems matter? They are problems, right? So we have to deal with them. So if we can't deal with them, we can't be calling ourselves spiritual sadhaks, unfortunately. Whatever it is, whatever life gives us, we have to deal with it. And we have to be very clear of where we are headed. Okay, I may reach it, I may not reach it, but I'm clear where I'm headed. So that's what he goes on to say in verse 28. So first 27 told us that people get carried away by the pairs of opposites. But 28 says, those men of virtuous deeds whose sins have come to an end, whose sins have come to an end means whose agitations have come to an end. Why have their agitations come to an end? Because of virtuous deeds. Virtuous deeds doesn't mean, oh, I did some charity and I did some good work. No. Virtuous deeds means all your actions were appropriate. You did good actions. Such people are not agitated. They don't understand good as in doing some good work. That's not what it means. Good as in your intellect functioning. You're constantly aware of where you're headed, what you're doing, and how you're going to use the current situation to help you get wherever it is you want to get. If you're on the spiritual path, obviously where we want to get is realization. So how are you using this situation? All the problems in our life are great for us, because remember, all problems come from personality issues. You don't have a problem unless you have a personality issue. So when you do have a problem, we have to thank the good Lord that we got this problem, because that gives us the first step, which is identifying the problem. Why do you have a financial problem? Because you have a personality problem. Why do you have a marital problem? Because you have a personality problem. Why do you have a health problem? Because you have a personality problem. Attend to that. and you will never again have these problems. So virtuous deeds means you're able to see what you are doing wrong and correct it. That's a very difficult thing. How can you do that? It's so tough. How can you even tell what your errors are? But life gives us a clue. Whatever we call a problem, that gives us a clue into where I have a personality problem. I have to attend to it. That is called virtuous deeds. Not virtuous deeds, the simple and, or let's say, this simplistic understanding of, oh, I did some charity. I helped the old lady cross the street. I mean, these are good acts, no doubt. And of course they have to be done. But the most important thing is cleansing myself. And once I've cleansed myself, I will be a beacon light for everybody. I won't be helping one or two. I'll help every single person I come in contact with. So let me cleanse myself. So those men of virtuous deeds, we have to add here, those men and women of virtuous deeds, that means those who have done the right actions, whose sins have come to an end, whose agitations have ended because they are attending to everything in life. They freed from the delusion of pairs of opposites, no longer getting carried away. Oh, ye bahut acha hua. Oh, ye bahut bura hua. Oh, wo kitna acha aadmi hai. Oh, kitna bura aadmi hai. You know, even when it comes to the guru, people don't stop this. They say, oh, he's such a good man, or he's such a bad man. How does that matter? How does that matter? A good person, bad person, good event, bad event. How does any of this matter? All that matters is how am I using this present moment to reach the place that I want to get? All that matters. That's what the Upanishad says. Upanishad Kena Upanishad says. Bhuteshu bhuteshu vichitya dhiraha pretyasmadamrutat lokat bhavanti. Says bhuteshu bhuteshu vichitya dhiraha. Bhuteshu bhuteshu means in every occasion, in every situation. Vichitya. Vichitya means having thought. Bhuteshu bhuteshu vichitya dhiraha. Prityasmad amrutat. You go to Amrutam. Amrutam means Mruta means death. Amruta, not death. So you go to the immortal, which means you reach realization. How do you reach realization? Bhuteshu bhuteshu vichitya dhiraha. The wise men, the dhiraha, they think through every occasion and use it as a method to achieve their goal. Every situation is good for us. If it's a problem, it will help us identify the issues within us. If it's a happy occasion, it's wonderful, mind is calm, you can proceed. Everything will help us, but we have to use it. We have to use it for that. So freed of the delusion of the pairs of opposites, not getting carried away by that. Worship me with firm resolve. Worship me with firm resolve means are able to reach, to aspire for the goal of self-realization, self-development, whatever your goal be, with firm resolve. That's important, with firm resolve. Otherwise, everything is a reason to give up. Everything. Oh, my guru spoke rudely to me. Reason to give up. Everything is a reason to give up. Oh, I'm too busy. Reason to give up. Everything is a reason to give up. Oh, I've got too many things to do. Oh, I have my son's wedding. Everything is a reason to give up. How come? How come that this goes? This cannot go. This is the most important thing of our life. Everything else can go. This has to stay. You have to remember when you come to this path, you're in for the long haul. Don't let go of that. This is the one thing that's permanent. Everything else is passing. Don't let go of this. If you stick with your soul will stick with you. But if you stick with anything else in this world, you have no guarantee that it is going to stick with you. So choose wisely. There is not a single day that should go without us studying in the morning. Not a single day for no rhyme or reason. Now, please don't make it patthar ki lucky. If you had a flight and you landed at home at 4 o'clock, you don't have to open your book. But actually, at least 98 to 99% of your life, you have studied every single morning. If you have 104 temperature, please don't get up and study. But at 98, 99% of your life, you have done it. Then you see the difference. No, I have to cook food. Don't cook food. Go and study. Don't. Food is not going to help you. Your studies are going to help you. That doesn't mean you shouldn't eat food, please. It's very difficult. If we don't approach it with maturity, then it's very difficult to understand what the knowledge is saying. So firm resolve means, what is that thing in your life which is fixed? This is not changing. Okay, you brush your teeth every morning. Do you ever say, I have no time? You never said that, right? Your whole life through, you brushed your teeth every morning. So what's the difficulty? You had a bath every day, didn't you? I hope so. But you did it, right? Whole life long. You had your meals every single day, didn't you? Why is Vedanta less important than that? Brushing your teeth will preserve your teeth. Vedanta will preserve you. How can that be less important? If you understand the importance of brushing your teeth, then how come we don't understand the importance of Vedanta? That understanding of that importance is what is called with firm resolve. That's the firm resolve. In your head, you've understood once and for all. Come hail or high water. This is the one thing that is not changing. Everything else will have to work around it. No, nothing is substituting this. If you're living life like this, how can there be agitation? How can there be sorrow? How can there be failure? How can there be anything? How can you not realize the self? So he says, those men of virtuous deeds. Please hear these and understand these words carefully, because remember, we're reading a text which is 5 to 10,000 years old. Language changes. How you use language changes. So it's very, very important that we understand it correctly. Men of virtuous deeds. Now don't say only men, not women. No. People of virtuous deeds. What's virtuous deeds? That they have used their intellect throughout.
You want to
Mind
listen?
is pure and intellect.
Are you listening? No.
Marge, are you saying something? Virtuous deeds means mind is pure, intellect is clear, and this combination of purity and clarity makes you take the right action. Men of virtuous deeds means men and women of virtuous deeds. Okay, virtuous deeds means the deeds that come from a pure mind and a clear intellect. Whose sins have come to an end means, now what is a sin? A sin is that action which comes back and agitates us. Any action that comes back and insults me, makes me think I should not have done this. Such an action is a sin. So what are sins come to an end? It means your mental agitations have come to an end. You don't look at your actions and regret what you have done because you already did them properly. Remember? Sins have come to an end means no mental agitations. Freed from the delusion of pairs of opposites. Means you're not getting carried away. Your mind is not getting carried away with what's happening. So many things will happen. They are of the moment. We deal with them, but they're not of eternity. So we don't give them more importance than they are due. Such people worship me. Worship me means can work towards the goal of self-realization with firm resolve. With firm resolve means you have understood once and for all that the most important thing in your life is this pursuit. So if what is your main tool in this pursuit is your morning study. So whatever happens, you won't give that up. Come hail or high water, you've understood this. This is a commitment you have made to yourself for the rest of your life. You will never give it up. That is firm resolve. Firm resolve doesn't say, oh, I believe in God so much, I love God so much, I believe in God so much. All that is all mental indulgence. Firm resolve means, are you doing whatever it takes to get you there? Okay, so that's verse 28. Now, anybody has any question up to this point? If not, we will go on to verse 29. Jara marana mokshaya mamashritya yatanti ye te brahma tatvidu krutsnam adhyatmam karma chakhilam. Jara marana mokshaya mamashritya yatanti ye te brahma tatvidu krutsnam adhyatmam karma chakhilam. Jara marana mokshaya. Moksha means to be freed, to be liberated. What are we wanting liberation from? So he says, Jara marana mokshaya. For the sake, for those who are studying Sanskrit, please notice Jara marana mokshaya. So you have for the purpose of, it's your fourth declension. Jara marana mokshaya. Jara, old age. Marana, death. For Jara, old age and death. To be freed of old age and death. Now, all the youngsters in the class will think this is the most boring thing to say. What old age? What death? We don't even understand this until we come closer to that. Only when you come to your maybe 50s or 60s, you begin to understand what that even means. What is old age? You don't understand that. You don't understand the feebleness, the helplessness, the loss of faculties, the loss of youth, the loss of looks, the loss of capacities, abilities. A youngster, somebody in their 20s, will never understand what this is about. So he's not even interested in freedom from old age. And the people who are interested in freedom from old age, they probably are too far gone to be able to achieve that freedom, because now capacities themselves may have come down. So what is the freedom from the fear of death? Youngsters don't understand that. And they can't. Nobody at that age will understand. That's why youngsters have no problem driving fast. They're not frightened. But older people won't do that. They're very frightened. A grandfather will not do it. Grandson will drive fast. Older people will not go on to those, what is that? You know, those, you have those things like that and like that.
Roller coasters.
Yeah, roller coasters. The older people don't go on that. They're like, oh my God, what will happen? What will happen? The youngsters think, oh, this is fun. This is life. So when we are young, we don't understand what is this liberation from old age. We don't understand what's liberation from death, because that fear of death starts arising in us only when we are somewhere close to it. No youngster is imagining death, right? But as you grow closer, as you grow older, the fear of death starts coming in a person. Now, that means already this person has already lived life wrong, incorrectly, because there's the fear of old age and death. That much has already started. So if you want to be liberated from this, now for the youngsters who don't understand this, we just move these words and say that if you want freedom from any problem in life, any problem that is going to come to us. Now, why do you think he uses Jara Marana? Remember, this is a long time ago, and people got old and died a lot more frequently than probably what may be happening now. We don't know. We don't have a historical record. Maybe they lived longer. We don't know. But it's sort of accepted that, our general standard of mortality is actually better. We sort of live a little longer now. But this is actually talking about the metamorphic changes of life. Here he's spoken of 2 because he's talking about liberation, but there are 5 of them. There's birth, growth, decay, disease, and death. This is what is going to happen to us. Every single human being, every single being is going to go through this. There's going to be birth, there's going to be growth, there's going to be decay, there's going to be disease, and there's going to be death. So when you look into the future, you already know now what is going to happen. And every one of these can cause pain to us. We think birth and growth are the nice ones, and decay, disease, and death are the bad ones. Not so. All of them can cause pain. Birth is painful for the mother and the child. Growth is painful. Remember when the teeth start coming, even when you're going from one class to another class, growth is painful. When you're leaving your hometown and going to a bigger town to make money, it's painful. Even growth is painful. Every part of it is painful. A philosopher can see that. A cynic can also see that, but the difference between the cynic and the philosopher is the cynic sees it and becomes very pessimistic and says, oh my God, life is horrible, life is horrible. The philosopher sees it and you'll see what he's saying. Jara Marana Mokshaya. For the liberation from, that means he has a solution to this problem. He's not saying it's terrible, now let's all sit down and cry. What he's saying is, it is terrible, and here's the solution. It's like a doctor telling you, you have this ailment, and here's the medicine. So, whose thing is constantly going on and off, whoever it is, please be a little more careful because you're causing disturbance to the whole class. Lalita Natarajan. A cynic is one who sees the problems and has no solutions. So he just gets depressed about it. He just says, oh, it's so horrible, and let's all sit down and cry. There is no goodness in this world. There is nothing good in this world. Sab bura hai. He may be saying the same thing the philosopher is saying. But the philosopher has a solution. He knows what to do about it. That's what he's telling us. For liberation from. He's going to tell us there's a way out of this. Of course, there are bad things, and most of it may be bad things, but please, there is a way to be perfectly happy over here. And here's what it is. For liberation from old age and death. For those who strive for this liberation from old age and death, from any problem, from any mental agitation, from any sense of failure, from any sense of anything negative in life. You don't have to restrict it to old age and death. From anything negative in life, those people who strive for this, Mam Ashritya, having taken refuge in him. So what's our way out? Take refuge in him. Now, since this is an old text, it is so highly misunderstood. What does take refuge in him mean? It doesn't mean going to the temple every day. Does it taking Ram Nam every day? Does saying Krishna, Krishna, Krishna every day? What does taking refuge in him mean? Does it mean that every time you have a problem, you delegate it to him to solve? Does it mean any of this stuff? Taking refuge in him means having the goal of self-realization. This is what it means, having the goal of self-realization, having the goal of merger with the Lord, whatever way you would like to put it, having the goal of enlightenment. That's what it means, having taken refuge in me. It doesn't mean that, oh, never mind what the problems are, God will take care of them. No, He won't. Why will God take care of your problems? Can't you take care of your own problems? What are you calling God in for every small thing? When I was a small child, my mother used to read to me these Aesop fables. And I distinctly remember one which she often reiterated to me, which was that one man was standing near the road and he had a fairly big thing to carry. So he was shouting out and saying, oh Hercules, come and help me carry this thing. And so Hercules came there to help him carry that. And then he said, okay, can you pick this thing up? He said, yes. Can you? He told the man who was shouting for him. So then why are you not picking it up? It's quite heavy. So Hercules, the story goes, left and went, because you can do this. Don't call me. So that's exactly God's attitude towards us. She would often say, don't call God, do it yourself. Because, all kids would say, oh, God will help me pass the exam. Oh, no, He won't. You please do your studies. So that sense of, I'm not going to even disturb God with my problems. I'm going to deal with them. Why am I disturbing Him? Kabira also says, he says, Kankad patthar jod ke masjid dehu banai. Kankad patthar jod ke masjid dehu banai. Uchari mulla bang de ka bhara hua khudai. So he's saying, you gathered a whole bunch of stones and rocks and made a masjid, you made a temple, you made a place of worship. Uchari mulla bang de. Oh mullah, why are you giving the bang? Ka bhara hua khudai. Has God gone deaf that you're screaming? What are you shouting for him for? Is he dumb that he will not do whatever is required? And what is required in our case is he keep out of our affairs, which is exactly what he does. So don't call him. That is not what Ashritya is. In fact, there's a very nice bhajan. They say in bhakti, in bhakti, they say you should call the God and all. That's not true. I'll tell you a very nice bhajan that says just what we are saying now in a nice emotional, devotional way. It says, Ram se bada Ram ka naam. It's a very beautiful bhajan, those of you who have heard of it. Ram se bada Ram ka naam. Greater than God is the name of the Lord. Now, why do you think the name of the Lord is greater than the name of God? Can you tell me? Can anybody answer? Why is the name of God greater than God?
Name of God is self.
May I speak?
Yeah, 1 second, Uttara. Ganesh, go ahead.
Name of God is self. God is maybe an idol, and name of God is self. Is that looked upon that?
No. God is real God. The self only. Uttara, what do you have to say?
When we take name of God, we create faith in ourselves. We have that faith that, okay, since we are taking name of God, it will drive us through whatever our difficulties and all. So it gives us more power and more faith. And we are doing our efforts on our own, just believing in that we are taking name of God. That's why we'll be able to do it.
No. It's not a way of tricking yourself. Ashia says name of God is making self-effort. I don't know what you mean by that, Ashia. Name of God is making self. Is doing your work. No, why is it saying the name of God?
Janki-ji, can I?
Yes. Who is this now? I can't see. Aditi. Go ahead, Aditi.
Something tangible to reach to the higher. Then just conceiving about the higher is difficult, but something tangible is like a step to reach to the higher.
May I?
Yes,
Harsan?
go ahead, Harsan.
Okay. 2 points. One is I feel that you can take the name of God whenever but taking the name of God may not be the same as asking the God for help. It can also be, trying to raise your own level to perform the task at hand. It's like remembering a higher power while performing. That is one. And secondly, taking the name of God it's something that you can do anytime. So maybe the fact that it can be done anytime makes it of a higher value. So
No,
these two reasons.
nope, sorry.
Okay.
Anita says, Anita Narayana Sami says, name of God is following the path of self-realization. Yes, sort of, Anita, but I'm not sure whether you could be meaning the right thing, so I'm not sure. Yes, Rashmi? Go ahead, Rashmi. Rashmi, you want to say something? Okay, Karthi Narayanan. Krishna Raj. We attribute too much to God while a lot can be achieved through self-realization and action. Okay. Captain Pratap Mehta, you want to say something?
It's simple. Nothing is greater than the God itself. I mean, in a short, you can say it. So the name of the God can't be is greater than the God.
Yeah,
Because
it
God
is.
itself is supreme.
Yes.
And
God is supreme, but this bhajan says, Ram se bada Ram ka naam. So he says Ram cannot jump across the ocean, but Hanuman taking Ram's name will jump across the ocean.
yes.
So,
Okay.
what is, why Ram se bada Ram ka naam? Where is Sangeeta? She should be able to explain. She is a bhakta, she said. Where is Sangeeta? Are you there, Sangeeta? Ram se bada Ram ka naam. Okay, so here's why Ram. Anita has come closest, I think, to it. Anita, surrendering to the path of self-realization. Okay, so the Ram represents the self. Okay, Ram represents the self. The self in us is the inactive principle. The self in us enables everything, but does not participate in everything. What? Vidushi, because God, Brahman, does not act, but faith in God propels one to act. Okay, Vidushi, your first portion is right, that God does not act. God is the enlivening principle. He's not the acting principle. The individual is the acting principle. The inactive principle is God. So when you have any situation in life, okay, when you have to deal with life, God does not come to help you. What helps you in life? Ram ka naam. Ram ka naam means what? Your goal of self-realization. When you have fixed your vision on that goal, okay, then all of life starts getting smoothened out. That's what he's talking about. Taking refuge in me means using me as the goal. I am not going to help you. But when the goal of your existence is to reach me, you will find that your life getting better and better and better. Why? Because when we place our minds on Ram Ka Naam, on the tool to self-realization, then we get an immediate objectivity towards whatever is happening in the world. And when you get that objectivity towards whatever is happening in the world, it is no big deal to deal with it. So Ram se bada Ram Ka Naam. Because the tool is more important than the end. If your tool is good, you can forget about the end, because the tool will take you there. So, Vidushi, because Brahman does not act correct, but the faith in God propels one to act, no. because it is the goal. And the goal, when you remember your goal, it is what gives you objectivity in life. And when you are objective in life, what is there that you cannot handle? Everything that you are faced with, you can handle if you're objective. The reason we can't handle it is because we get all involved. Why do people go to spiritual people and ask for advice? Why do they do that? Many people come and ask for advice. It may be on business, it may be on marriage, it may be on finances. I'm sure that they know more than the spiritual person about whatever they're asking advice for. Now, what have they gone to the spiritual person for? It just gives them a temporary objectivity. And that objectivity is what helps the problem to be solved. They don't lack the knowledge, but very often we lack the objectivity to be able to deal with whatever's going on. So when our goal is self, our tool becomes the Ram Nam. That means memory, remembering. Remember the Shruti example? Never forget what you're here to do. Whatever's going on in this world, never forget what you're here to do. And when you are able to live like that, that's classical living. Because that gives you so much objectivity in life. It gives you a mature, can I say, grown-up relationship with the world, not a childish relationship as we nowadays have, but a mature relationship with the world. So for those who strive for escape from the fundamental problems of human existence, they strive for the goal of self-realization. And when they do that, they realize the whole. The whole thing becomes clear to them. What is the whole? Brahman, Adhyatma, and Karma. So three things is what life is composed of. Brahman, the eternal principle. Adhyatma, the individual self, you and I. And Karma, action. This is what life is made up of. So what is that objectivity we get towards life is explained in this verse. So I hope this is clear. If anybody got a question on this, I'm just repeating this. Just quick repetition of what this verse is saying. Those who strive from liberation from old age and death. Old age and death refers to the fundamental problems of life. The fundamental problem of life obviously is death. So fundamental problems of life, right? It could include things like where have I come from? Where am I going? It could include things like any kind of problem, from the mundane, from the ridiculous to the sublime, from existential questions themselves to daily, everyday questions, whatever you would like to call the problems of life. If you want liberation, if you want escape from those problems in life, then take refuge in him. Take refuge in him means make him the goal. That's what Ram Nam refers to. The goal, remembering the goal. Just saying God exists doesn't help us, right? Just saying, oh, God will look after me doesn't help me. What helps me? Remembering the goal, remembering that that's where I want to get. That's where I have to get. That is my release from all these existential and other problems of life. Why is that a release? Because keeping our mind on the higher thought gives us objectivity to anything lower than that. And when we have objectivity in life, we can deal with any situation that life has to give us. There is no situation in life that is what should I say? That is predetermined to make us happy, unhappy. No, there's no such situation. We can be equally happy in every situation. Now, please don't misunderstand this, because 90% of philosophy is just about misunderstanding. So being happy in every situation does not mean that somebody died and you said, oh wow, what fun, somebody died. That's not what it means. So what it means is you don't lose your equanimity in every circumstance. There'll be good things, there'll be bad things. We will feel good, we will feel bad. The mind feels all this. But the intellect has to keep itself above all that. So when we seek escape from the problems, focus our minds on the ultimate goal, then what happens is you understand the whole. Once you realize the self, you understand the whole picture of life. What was Brahman? What was this God that we were looking for? What is Adhyatma, this individual soul? And what is the karma? What were the actions? What is all of Prakriti? You begin to understand the whole thing. So this is this verse. Deepak says, verse 28 spoke about our delusions. Most of our delusions exist as blind spots. So how do we ensure that our actions, choices are taking us closer to the self? Most of our delusions exist as blind spots. So how do we ensure that our actions, choices are taking us closer to the self? Just by struggling yourself to do that. Yes, the delusions are blind spots quite often, but when the question in your mind is, what if I do now? Will it take me closer to the goal? You will be able to quite often spot what is the necessary action. And it is through this that we grow. We are never going to do it perfectly because we are not realized souls. So it's part of our human condition that we will do things imperfectly. But that struggle, that okay, let me figure out now what is the best thing I can do, and keep myself alert that I could have chosen wrong because I am imperfect. I may choose wrong. So that constant, what should I say, application of ourselves to reach the goal. When we keep on trying to do that, then that will take us closer to the goal. Because remember, it is our intentions eventually that matter. So I'm struggling to find what is the right way to take me to realization. That's what's going to count. Is that okay, Deepa?
Yes, thank you, Janki.
Anyone else has a question?
Janaki ji, this is Sanjay.
Hari Om Sanjay.
Please repeat those 5 stages. I'm missing one. Birth, growth, decay,
disease.
Hanji?
Disease.
Disease and death. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Birth, growth, decay, birth, growth, disease, decay, and death.
Thank you.
That's what's life all about, what we're so excited about, but that's what it's all about. Okay, so is this verse clear? Okay, so in which case we will close for today. We will do the last verse next time, and we will also do a summary of the whole chapter next time. Okay, Hari Om.
Hari Om Janki ji, thank you.
Hari Om.
Thank you,
Thank
Janki
you.
ji.
Thank you, Janki ji. This is Ma.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om,
Hari Om,
thank you.
Shanti.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Janki ji.
Hari Om, Aditi.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hari Om. Thank you,
Hari
Jan.
Om.
Thank you.
Then decay.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, ma'am. Thank you.